What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know.
Since we hate Colorado so much, let me go ahead and get into who my sleeper is. And you probably heard me say his name quite a lot over the last couple months. And that's who I think Colorado's best receiver
LaJohntay
was.
Wester?
LaJohntay Wester.
Yep.
We all picked receivers. That's kind of funny.
I know.
That is
I
not planned.
And I didn't see you guys list till later today because I already knew who I was going to put on mine. And there's no question of why I have these two. Like, if you've been listening in, you know that LaJohntay Wester
Can't
is
see who that defender is.
Oh, you probably don't know who it is, but I've talked about him before.
It's
so,
also just a bunch of pixels, but I'll know it once I see it.
Yeah.
Or hear it.
So LaJohntay Wester, here's a fun fact for you guys. It was his first year with Colorado, 74 receptions, 931 yards, and 10 touchdowns, which is a career high for him in touchdowns, but wasn't a career high for him in yardage. Obviously, we know who was the number one guy who was getting most of the targets out there. Let's just say this. On a per-catch basis, LaJohntay Wester would have had more yardage than Travis Hunter if he would have got the amount of targets that he got. It would have been significant. Travis Hunter was a top 5 receiver last year in receiving yards, but to be honest, he would have surpassed that and probably would have either been 2 or 3 in yardage by the trajectory that he was on if you would have given him the targets. That's one fun fact for you. The second fun fact is that Travis Hunter in his career has never had a game over 153 yards receiving, and he did that against Cincinnati last season. LaJohntay Wester's career high with Colorado was against Oklahoma State, where he had 11 catches for 175 yards in the game. So, not saying that that's anything significant. I'm just saying that that's also very, very impressive for a guy that's 5'11", 167 pounds, which is, almost the same stature of, well, not the same stature, but when standing side by side with Travis Hunter, they kind of almost seem like they're the same type of body type kind of receiver, even though Travis is 6'1". With all that being said, though, I was so impressed by LaJohntay Wester. I mean, if you looked at Colorado's offense last year, where they were running, Y cross a lot in Pat Shurmur's offense, it was always in the flat Y cross. And if it wasn't going to Travis, it was going to LaJohntay, and we were sitting there watching some of these games where, like, how is the defense not recognizing that this is going across the middle of the field to one of these fast guys? Like, it'd be like 3rd and 7, and they just let LaJohntay Wester catch it and go 35 yards. It was insane. And it wasn't because Shedeur was amazing. It was because the receivers on this team were so good, and they don't get the credit that they deserve. And I surely don't think LaJohntay Wester gets the credit that he deserves at all. And again, his size is what's going to be. If he was Will Shepherd, he'd be much higher in this draft as far as talk. But because he's 5'11", 167, he's going to get the Tez Johnson treatment where he'll probably go. I think he'll go day 3. I don't think he'll go as a UDFA. But somebody's going to be very happy to have him as a slot receiver. He's awesome. And I can't say enough good things about him. But then again, the natural crowd out there thinks we hate Colorado's guts, and we just mentioned two guys as sleepers.
I was about to say, especially both you and I, Dante, because Klee hasn't been here as long during that Colorado hate. But
so if you go back through our channel, and I'm so glad to bring this guy back up. Go back to our channel. Before I knew Sora and Khalid, there was a video that I made of actually on my watch list of a player, and his name is Tyler Grubbs. Tyler Grubbs played at Holy Cross. Then he transferred to Louisiana Tech, and then he transferred to Tulane. And I was so excited for him to see him just take his step up. I love Tyler Grubbs and everything that he does on the football field. And it's just so funny that this has come back full circle for me, where he was one of the players that I liked the most in college as far as a linebacker. And now he's draft eligible, and now he's being noticed. To me, he's not a sleeper, but to everybody else, he's definitely going to be a sleeper on the team that has that Matt Milano type of mentality. When I watch him, that's the vibe that I get, is Matt Milano with really good coverage skills. His numbers can be pretty deceiving. I mean, he only had, 67 total tackles last year, but I remember watching the Memphis game and I remember watching the Florida game and being like, man, Tyler's all over the field right now, just sideline to sideline, just doing everything he can to try to help these guys out. And this was a big full circle moment for Tyler as well, because he's from Louisiana. So being able to play for two schools like Louisiana Tech and Tulane, I think is really, really cool after playing, with his first school at Holy Cross. But the fact that he took his way up into the ranks and where he's at right now is great. There's a score that I like to look up, which is called LPR, which is based off of, it's a league aggregating key stat to see where that player's performance matches up with everybody else in the country at his position. And it's on a scale of 100. And as far as linebackers, he was at 77. So not great, but good enough where he's entering that great conversation versus everybody. Now we're talking about 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 Campbell and Jalen Walker and these type of guys that are in the 90s, and he's at 77, almost cracking that 80 spot. So, again, when you play for a school like Tulane, you're not going to get the burn that a lot of the other guys are going to get in the SEC, where people are running the ball a lot and things like that. You're going to Tulane and you're going to play a lot of teams that are going to throw the ball a lot, right? Even Memphis, they threw the ball a ton, even though they had Mario Anderson there. So being 6'2", 230, 235, a little bit on the smaller side, but because he's so small, I think he's still in the top percentile as one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. And coverage linebackers come a dime a dozen in today's game.
But they're necessary.
They are very they are very necessary. So, and again, you start looking at there's another stat that you can pull out called the stat rate, and it happens from on a 100 point percentage scale, and his start rate through the 6 years he played college football was a 98%. That's pretty significant. That means he stays healthy, he takes care of his body, and he's always available for his team. He played 55 games, and he started in 54. Pretty good for a 6-year player. So what I'm saying, I know I'm making a case for him, but this is a really cool full circle moment for me to have had him as a draft sleeper. And I think that he's going to be one of those guys that comes out of camp as a UDFA or either a practice squad guy, to going into like week 4 of a season where a significant piece gets hurt and everybody's like, who the hell is Tyler Grubbs? Like, this dude is actually pretty decent. I have that much faith in this young man, and I'm like super excited to see what he does at the next level. So